Hello, 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 party people out there in the internet lands. My name is Jaimelyn Gray. I am the host of this theatrical online program called You've Got a Thing, an interview thing about Milwaukee theater things. Very happy to be here with you today to share the goings on this week of things that are going on in the Milwaukee Theatre Alliance, and hopefully you can go out and see something. So let's just get right to it, shall we? We'll go through some of these other events, and then we've got a great interview for you today. Mr. Michael Unger from Skylight Music Theater. He's a great man who comes on every once in a while to talk about the goings on at Skylight, and I appreciate it. So let's get to what else is happening besides what is going on at Skylight. So first, we have a very happy closing to the folks over there at Schmitz and Giggles. Mr. Patrick Schmitz wrote a very funny dark comedy called The Hitman, and he was on last week actually to talk about that, if you'd like to go back and check out that interview. But it's closing weekend for him there. They're putting this on over at the Brick House, which is a great little venue on Center Street. And if you want to check that out before it closes, I highly encourage you to do that. You're going to want to get over to schmitzandgiggles.org, which is basically just the most genius use of your own last name that Patrick Schmitz could ever come up with. So schmitzandgiggles.org for all your information about The Hitman. And again, that's closing, so you're going to want to make that happen. Next, we have for you The Children by Lucy Kirkwood. This is over at Next Act Theater. I haven't myself been able to get in to see this yet. I've been in rehearsal, but there's really great word of mouth on this. They're saying that it's a thinking piece, and it's just one that you really should see to really get your brain going about where we are in the world and what we are leaving behind. Essentially, it's about two retired nuclear scientists, and they've isolated themselves in a cottage by the sea as the world is falling apart. They decide that they're going to live forever on yogurt and yoga, and then a friend arrives with a frightening request, and the play goes on from there. So if you want to check that out, you're going to want to go to nextact.org to make it in to see The Children. And I encourage you to go and see that. But, since Schmitz and Giggles is their Hitman is closing this weekend, why don't you check out that one first, and then you can sneak over to The Children. Or you can try and do I always encourage double headers. So like you go to Next Act at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and then you go to Schmitz and Giggles at 7:30 p.m. You can do that as well. That is also an option for you. Next, we have at Interchange Theater Co-op. That's actually Theatre Co-op. No, I think it's Theater Co-op. Theater Co-op. Yes, there's a difference. Remember, there's an ages-old fight about theatre and theater. Is it R-E or is it E-R? I have my own thoughts about that, about what we should say is, I personally feel that, the actual company themselves are like theatre, the building is a theater, but that's just me. I'm not I'm not saying that you need to do that. I'm not saying that you need to do exactly what I do. You don't need to do exactly what I do. You can do whatever it is that you need to do with your life. But you can go to interchangetheater.com. They have all kinds of events, all kinds of improv events over at Interchange. There's groups, there's duos, there's a whole bunch of fun things for you to check out. Swift Rav, but they have coming up on Friday, is exactly what it sounds like. It's randomly selected Taylor Swift songs and stories from audience members. So if you're a Swiftie, that's going to be one that you're going to want to check out. And then I think the Palindrome on Sunday, March 1st, sounds exciting. It's scenes that expand, contract, and go forward and back again. Palindrome takes you on a loop of fun. Okay, loop of fun. And their Purgatorium series says every soul has some good in them and deserves redemption. You're going to help them decide which are ready to go to the paradise and which need more time in the Purgatorium. So again, interchangetheater.com for that. And then I saw this floating across the internet lands in Instagram. Kids from Wisconsin is starting their auditions. This is going on throughout March. And if you are interested in, if you're 15 to 20 years old and you're interested in touring with kids from Wisconsin all across the state. My mom did this back in the 1970s. She said it was the best time of her life. So maybe you want to go and check that out as well. And so you can go to the Marcus Center this Sunday in Milwaukee here. They're looking for walk-ins. You can walk into actually any of their auditions across the state. And if you want to check that out, you go to kidsfromwisconsin.org. No, sorry, kidsfromwi.org to check that out, to see where they're going to be and what you need to do to audition, what their requirements are. I'm sure they have 16 bars of a song, and you're going to do some dancing and things like that, because it's if you've never seen Kids from Wisconsin, it's a big to do. And so check that out at kidsfromwi.org. And then finally today we have for our other things happening, we have Black History Month, just the last couple days here to really focus and think over contributions from the Black and African American community to our culture and our country, and what they've really provided to us as great input into society. That community has done a lot for all of us, and it's important to recognize how important it is to really remember and think about what has been provided specifically from the African American and Black community. I'm going to give you a website that I gave a couple weeks back, but I think it's a good one. It's the ASALH.org websites. It'll tell you the origins of Black History Month, going all the way back to noted historian Carter G. Woodson. It's a great resource to recognize the central role of African Americans in U.S. history. And since 1976, every president has officially designated the month of February as Black History Month. Other countries also celebrate it, but the Black History Association for the Study of African American Life and History, ASALH.org, is a really great resource to learn more about contributions. And that's what we've got for this week. To check out other things in the community. If you're not going to go and see Frankenstein, which we're going to talk about right now, or like I said, go see multiple events. I really think there's a need for people to get out of the house more often and really see and do a lot of things. And the theater community really provides a lot of entertainment that you can check out multiple times a week if you have the space for that in your life. I hope you do, because there's some good stuff out there. But right now, we are going to talk to Mr. Michael Unger, and it's a really great interview about new work and how this particular musical, Frankenstein the musical, came to be here in Milwaukee at Skylight Music Theater. So I hope you enjoy that. All right, and with me right now, I have the one of the most busiest humans in all of Milwaukee, greater Milwaukee area, Mr. Michael Unger.
We're all busy, Jaimelyn.
Well, I know we're all busy, but I must acknowledge it. I must validate, yes, that you are seen. You are seen, my friend.
Well, I appreciate that.
The artistic director of Skylight Music Theater down there in the 3rd Ward. How are you today, my good man?
Good. A day off after, well, not really a day off from shows after quite an intense tech process, but.
Oh, you're going to have to tell me about that because it's a Thursday, don't you?
Right, we don't have a show tonight because we do 6 a week. So sometimes we take a Thursday off. We have a matinee or a student matinee happening. So
it's that balance that we small companies do not have to deal with. But in fairness, we can only do like 4 shows. So
we're the medium company, so we do deal with it.
Yes. So speaking of the show, in quotation marks, you are now in the process of Frankenstein the musical, which is what we are talking about today. Indeed. I'm very excited to hear about this because there have been many iterations of Frankenstein, but the musical is a little outside the box for me, for what I'm thinking. So first of all, we have to do the normal, like, for those who don't know Skylight Music Theater, can you just give the quick little info bit about Skylight?
Sure. Skylight's in the historic 3rd Ward in the beautiful Cabot Theater. We've been around for 65 years. This is my 6th year in this chair. My partner in crime is Susan Varela, the executive director. And we only do musical theater, or theater that has a musical element to it. We've done operas and oratorios and concerts, but plays with music. But we're Milwaukee's home for music theater, as we like to call it.
Yes. And and you do a wonderful job at that. I can't believe the amount of time that's been. I had that blip today because I was in a presentation where the group that we were working with, the small arts and culture cohort, we started meeting in 2020, and that's 5 years now.
Yeah.
And I
don't know where the time went. Like the pandemic happened, so that was a suspension of time, kind of. But then it's even been, 3-4 years since then. So
yes, I've never felt this disoriented about time in my whole life. So that's awesome. But so you have Frankenstein the musical now. This is your what show is this in your season? This is the fourth?
This is 4 out of 5.
Okay.
In the 65th season, yeah.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about how you came across Frankenstein the musical?
Sure. My friend Jeff Jackson wrote it.
Oh, yay! Yay!
So Jeff is a brilliant first career graphic artist, brilliant, retired early, then started writing. And I directed an off-Broadway play of his, oh gosh, was it 10, 11 years ago, called 2.0, which literally is about AI before we ever knew what AI was. So I think Jeff Jackson invented AI. He didn't, of course, but the ideas in that play were so prescient and like so timely, but before anyone else was writing about that. Anyway, so Jeff's a brilliant guy. And I also knew his writing partner, Mark Barron, who's the composer. Jeff wrote book and lyrics. And I played off Broadway in a production several years ago, and they have completely rewritten it for Skylight and this version, and they're very excited about that reworking. We've been doing rewrites throughout the process, even put some changes in the other night, so we're treating it kind of like a new musical, even though it's not. It is a Midwest premiere, not a world premiere, but this version is premiering here. Wonderful cast of 10 local artists, amazing epic score. I think the visuals are stunning. It's almost wall to wall, top to bottom, side to side projections the whole way through the show. A couple little special effects and tricks going on in there. It's a very exciting show. It's also not your average, I guess, memory of what you think Frankenstein might be. This is not a big green guy with a flat top and bull sticking out of his neck. This is proudly very faithful to the Mary Shelley original from 1818. Okay. So the authors pride themselves on being faithful to the novel. They've, of course, made some additions and conflations, but it's a really smart adaptation. It's really quick. It's 2 hours, including intermission. It's really packed, dense, but it is so good. Like, it doesn't stop. Once you get on the train, just got to ride it to the end.
That's very exciting. That's very cool. I nerd out on stuff that's like, oh well, we rewrote it for for our particular company and stuff. I think that's a really neat experience for the artists involved to go through that process. It can be a little stressful, but it's incredibly rewarding to know that when you're a part of that process.
Yeah, because their influence, their stamp, our stamp, Skylight stamp is on the show wherever it goes from here. Same with Juliet and Romeo, which was a world premiere, and we were passing rewrites back and forth with the authors throughout that process as well. But you'll like this, Jaimelyn. It's nice and dark. Everybody dies. Spoiler alert: everyone dies.
Oh,
almost
good.
Everyone dies.
Oh, good. Then it's art for me. It's art for me. What? How many local art? Is it an all local team? Like what?
It is. I mean, Miss Kyle Blair, who plays the creatures, from Wisconsin, currently lives in Chicago. Miss Kyle was also in Oliver, will be in Sister Act. So they are not living local now, but they are from this area. Everyone else is living local.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And you've got Mr. Seth in there, and all of your just a really good team from the outside perspective.
A lot of Skylight regulars. Stephanie Stazak, Seth Hale, and Miss Kyle are the 3 leads. And we have 3 Skylight debuts, which is exciting. So a couple new faces on the stage.
Oh, I love it. I love seeing the new faces. What was the rehearsal process like then? Can you get a little bit into more of that with just how you work in the new pieces and how long it takes to really get that? Well, like you said, you just changed something the other night.
Yeah, I mean, little things, little lines changed back and forth. In the rehearsal process, there were more significant changes. what we did was we started by learning music, then we did a table read with the singing, and the authors zoomed into that from California and New Jersey, so they could hear the piece, and then they responded with a bunch of rewrites. We implemented those, and the process was, too short. Our process here is always too short to do what we do. We pick ambitious shows, do them with lots of, special effects and lots of beautiful lighting and projections, and but we have an amazing, small but mighty team of technicians and artists here at Skylight who make the magic happen, and it really is magical because, again, not enough time to do this really, but we make it happen. So yeah, we just started with like a normal rehearsal process, learning the material, staging, choreography, and there are a couple little special tricks. I won't give away all of them, but one of them is the two laboratory scenes where the creatures are created are done with a kabuki drop and shadow play. So we set up fabric in the rehearsal room, and we measured the distance of the light source to the screen, how wide the screen would be, so we could figure out exactly what the proportions would be when we moved downstairs to the Cabot Theater, and it actually worked out perfectly. That sight lines are great. You can't see behind it when we don't want you to see behind it. So that all worked out pretty well.
That's very cool. I heard a little intel about one of the fight sounds the other night, because
let's not give that away.
Who knows somebody? So
let's not give that away. But it's
I'm not going to. But it was very cool, and even
it's really creepy. It works so well.
I don't want to hear it either.
It works remarkably well. This is at the end of the second lab scene. Come and see a very special sound effect. That's not created how you'd imagine it. So if you come to see the show, find me afterwards and ask me.
And then ask, because it's really neat.
It's so stupid simple, by the way.
Yeah,
like the best theater tricks are.
That's 100% real. Like, yeah, the best stuff is the stuff that you get to tell the little stories about afterwards of this or that. Yeah. So was there a real concerted effort, or was there an intentionality about doing so much new work this season?
I love doing new work, as you probably know.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of, if we can do it, it's our responsibility as theater makers to keep the art form growing. And I'm lucky enough to have some really talented friends who've written some shows, So when you call them and say, "What do you got that's new?" and one of the concerted effort for sure this season and next season, which we're about to announce next season on the 12th of March, we'll announce our next set of shows. But we pandemic, theater challenges, we wanted blockbuster titles. So whether you know the musical Juliet and Romeo or not, you certainly know Romeo and Juliet.
Right.
Whether you know this version of Frankenstein, you know the story of Frankenstein.
Right.
Obviously, Waitress, Oliver, and Sister Act are all household titles as well. So we did make a concerted effort to pick titles that everybody would recognize. And if they don't know exactly the form we're doing it, they at least have familiarity and curiosity about it. So I literally called my friend Paul Gordon, who had written Being Earnest that we did during the pandemic time, that virtual production that we did.
Yeah.
And I said, "What do you got that's new?" He says, "I got a Juliet and Romeo." I said, let's do it. And that was the world premiere. And I'd known about Frankenstein for many years, just as long as I'd known Jeff and Mark. And I called them. I said, "What do you think of us putting that into this season?" Jeff and I have been talking about putting Frankenstein at Skylight for a few years since I got here. We finally found a great place for it in a great season. Also, the balance of the season was really cool this year with, the fabulous, amazing Sarah Bareilles story centering on, empowering women. Oliver, big popular show, lots of kids. And so the sequence of the season really fell in nicely with these shows in these particular places, and the super comedy happening and sort of the doldrums, the winter, and Frankenstein happening sort of as a smaller production before the final big one.
That's so cool. It's a really neat season from in my humble opinion. Why should people come and see Frankenstein? Why is this one that they should come out of?
Well, it's a really important story because it is about technology and the development of technology, the promise and perils of technology, and what happens if we don't have guardrails.
Yeah.
And in the world today, there are a lot of guardrails missing in lots of areas of our lives. Yeah. And this is an ambitious man who had altruistic goals when he started and just lost control of it. And it destroyed himself, his family, everything, you know. Like I said, everybody dies. Spoiler alert. But it's a really smart cautionary tale and brilliantly written by Mary Shelley in 1818. It started when she was 18 years old.
Yeah.
And actually kind of a fun story. She was at a summer estate of a friend of theirs, Lord Byron, and with her soon-to-be husband, Percy Shelley, another doctor/writer. And because of earthquakes in Indonesia the year before in 1817, that summer was just full of storms and thunderstorms, and they stayed in the whole summer and read ghost stories to each other. And then Lord Byron at one point said, let's all write a ghost story. So the first Dracula story was written by John Polidori, who was one of the friends. And this is when Mary Shelley started to write Frankenstein, that summer of storms. So it's kind of a cool origin story, but it's super smart, and it's really deep in terms of what our responsibilities are and what happens if we abdicate those responsibilities. So I think it could not be more timely with AI, you know, rearing its pretty and ugly head every which way you turn. And it's an important story, but also the score is epic and beautiful. If you like our Hunchback of Notre Dame, or you like a Les Mis kind of thing, you will love this score. Huge power ballads, phenomenal orchestra of 5, led by Jana Ernst. And great performances and a great story. It's just so good, and cool special effects.
That's a lot. That's a lot of reasons to see a show.
Yeah, and that one sound effect.
And the one
that's worth the price of admission alone, but so is the rest of it.
It's just, that's why I'm going, just for the one sound effect. I gotta see that thing in action. But people can go to smtmke.org.
It's our new shorter URL.
It's great, and then it just forwards you to the Skylight.org. But it's technology. So go out and see the Frankenstein friends. And
please do.
Anything else people should know about that one?
No, just buckle in and
get
on the ride. It's really, really an amazing journey. A lot of great work by so many wonderful artists that are from your town, our town, my new town. So it's a great ride. Please come.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, sir, always for your time, and
pleasure.
We will see you next time.
Bye.
And there you have it. That's what we've got today for you. Again, Mr. Michael Unger, a really great human that has really brought a lot to Milwaukee as far as musical life is concerned. I think this season is a real great season. I'm just a huge fan of new work, and I really think it's great that they promote that, and they are giving artists the opportunity to get in on the ground level for new work. And so really just happy that happens. But go out and see some theater art, go out and see some shows. And if you want to check out any of these groups, the best resource is to just go to MilwaukeeTheatreAlliance.org, and you can find all different links and things to different companies that are in the Alliance, and then go out and see a show. But thank you so much for being with me today. I hope to see you next week on You've Got a Thing. Yeah.